Hi, everyone. Thanks for allowing Lucas and I to talk to you today about designing a patron empowering OPAC. Lucas does some really amazing things for some of our koha-OPACs that you see around. We're going to show some great examples today and share some of the ideas that you can implement back at your library. Just quick about Lucas and I, we work at ByWater Solutions. I do a lot of koha training, documentation, marketing, and outreach. So we're going to talk a lot about like personalizing your brand and tying in the seamless integration between your library website and your koha OPAC.
And I'm Lucas. I'm a koha developer. Also done a bunch of release maintenance on various versions of koha. Yeah. So what we're going to talk about today is some of the hows of how you can customize your OPAC, some of the tools that are available to you in koha, some of the tools outside of koha that we can use to customize our OPAC. Get a little bit into some considerations to make our OPACs sustainable and accessible for everyone. Then Jessie is going to talk a little bit about marketing, branding those OPACs so they fit your library brand. Okay, so how? What are some of the tools we have in koha to customize our OPACs? The big one that I think 90% of customizations I do come from are these tools here. News, which has lived in koha for forever, or as long as I can remember, which is sort of something where we can do one-off events with expiration dates. Now we have HTML customizations, which is relatively new in koha. This is where we can insert content with HTML into various predefined places in the OPAC. These used to be system preferences, like OPAC header, OPAC footer, and the side nav bars and stuff like that, which were kind of hard to find because you have to know what the system preference was called and go find it. Now everything lives here in this like one-stop shop of HTML customizations, which is pretty awesome. It's also a lot more friendly to use. We can use WYSIWYG editors. We can use a more robust text editor and write actual HTML if we want. And there's stuff like save and continue buttons, so you can work a little bit on your OPAC, go look at it, save, continue. There's news logs so that we can actually like log these changes just in case we make mistakes and need to go backwards. And then super exciting to me is this new feature in 2211, which is going to be pages. So we're actually going to be able to use all of these same tools and write just unique custom pages in koha. Here's a little mock-up I did using one of those pages. So yeah, we'll be able to maybe even abandon library websites and use koha for our library websites. And maybe next year we can even use koha to make the koha 2023 website. So this is a really cool and exciting feature to me. It's a big game changer, I think. Okay, so that's HTML customizations. There are these predefined areas in koha where we can add stuff. That doesn't work all the time because we may want to insert content in other places. So another big tool that I'm using all the time is OPAC user JS, which is system preference. Little example right here, just showing how if you successfully register, you may want to change some of the text on a page to suit your library with unique text. JavaScript's also great for managing sort of the state of things, checking if users are logged in or not logged in, things like that. OPAC user CSS. This is how we make everything pretty on our koha OPACs. We can inject CSS into here and it'll affect every page on our koha OPAC and make everything shiny and nice and beautiful. Also, plugins are a great tool. There's a bunch of them that we can use in koha to gain some functionality in our OPAC and do various cool things. I always think first of Coverflow. koha OPACs, I think it's nearly ubiquitous now. We're using that a lot and making slides, book rivers, if you will, to make things accessible to our patrons and discoverable. I see a lot of newly acquired slides or staff picks, which can be curated by staff. I've seen recently returned. There's all kinds of things you can do. You just need reports and yeah. Let's see what other plugins do we have. Galadriel is one, which when we don't want to write CSS or we're uncomfortable writing CSS, we can change colors of things in our Koha OPAC by using the Galadriel plugin, changing the nav bar colors, changing the logins, stuff like that. EDS, which is a great EBSCO plugin to sort of gain a new wealth of things into our catalog, journals, scholarly articles, things like that. What else? Kids OPAC, right. We have a Kids OPAC plugin, which is super easy to use. We just give it a URL that's maybe different than our regular OPAC URL and press a couple buttons, decide what kind of item types or shelving locations or collection codes we want to be discoverable only for our children's audience. And then we have something neat like this that can pair well with our regular OPAC. Okay, so those are some of the tools that we can use, but I also want to just kind of throw out some of the customizations I do on a pretty normal basis and give you kind of an idea of some of the things you can do by using those tools. Pretty standard is some stuff just like links by using the HTML customization feature on your homepage or really anywhere else in your catalog you want to put it, but these may be links to your website or scholarly articles like you see here, just really anything you want that is of value or importance to your patrons. Oh, and this is a big one too that's on a lot of OPACs, hours, social media, contact. I like to make OPACs like a one-stop shop for your patrons so they can figure out everything. They can not only just search the catalog, but they can look at the hours, maybe get a Google map pulled up where the library is, website, social media icons, which I have about, I don't know, 5 or 7 different iterations, different designs of social media icons, all of which are available. We'll have this code, all the CSS, the HTML and everything in a blog post for you to look at later. Oh yeah, and just a little piece of JavaScript, very simple stuff that you can put in your OPAC user CSS, can highlight which day it is. So when your patron hits the OPAC, not only can they search the catalog, but they can see what the library's hours are for that very day. Just cool and little handy things that make the OPAC experience a little funner. Oh, digital library cards. This is powered by JavaScript and something I've done a lot of recently. Pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. When you logged in, you can click on a view your e-card, pull up something that looks very much like your library card. Maybe use that at self-checkout or at the desk if you don't have your library card. And this is all powered by OPAC user.js and made pretty by OPAC user CSS. So, yeah. Oh, this one's awesome, I think. There's now a public Biblios API route. So with just a little bit of JavaScript, which I'm showing right here, we can grab any MARC field we want, even the ones that don't display by default in the OPAC, and display those on our OPAC results page or on our details page. I love this. This is awesome. We used to have to do it with XSLT. Has anybody worked with XSLT? It's not my favorite, and I would much rather do something like this with JavaScript, and it's a lot more sustainable. We don't have to move off of our community XSLT style sheets. Yeah, so And we have any MARC field really available to us to put anywhere we want in our OPAC. So it's awesome. Okay, so those are just a few ideas I want to throw out there to get everybody's heads turning about the customizations. So you can go out there and think of your own. But there's also some other considerations we want to consider when we're designing these things and writing HTML or writing CSS. So we want to design for our entire community, everyone. So who does that include? That'll include screen reader users. So some assistive technology that will dictate the web page to you. We have low vision users and maybe colorblind users. We want to consider those folks. Some people use only a keyboard, but no mouse, and we want to really consider like how we tab through the components on our website and if things can be focusable or not be focusable. So we want to think about those kind of users. And then screen sizes, like we got a ton of them in this day and age. So I want to think about everybody. When we're designing these customizations, it's easy to look at it on our big work computer screens and on our brand new browsers, Chrome 105s or whatever, and think it looks good, but we're not always considering all the screen sizes, which we should. So if you're working on a customization, check it with various screen sizes. See if it looks good on a cell phone or on a tablet. You also have to remember that not everybody has a really fast internet connection. So there's probably a lot of rural libraries out there with slower internet still, unfortunately. Those are users we want to consider. And then older browsers. Like I said, it's easy to be in the newest version of Chrome and see that everything works and looks good. We have to remember that not everybody uses the same browser. Which leads me to this tool, not in Koha, caniuse.com. This is great if you have CSS pseudo classes or jQuery methods, and you could just search for them here, and it gives you this nice little indicator of how many browsers support that particular thing. This one, for example, has like 56% global support. So although I really wish we could use has, we can't yet. The support's not there, but maybe one day. So a lot of times when we're doing customizations, we're going to be writing HTML. What should we consider when we're doing so? I always take snippets of HTML that I write for customizations and throw them into a validator like this one from W3 Schools. Just to make sure your HTML is actually good and valid. When we add images, we should always be adding alt text to describe to screen readers what that image means, if it has any meaning. Just a couple little examples here that I sometimes see, like these center tags, which will work and center elements on your page in your customization. But as you can see here, if I throw it in a validator, it says error, center element is obsolete. Use CSS instead. That's the same with this break element, which I see a lot and used to create space between two HTML elements. Whenever we're doing anything visually, we should always use CSS. Yeah. Oh, and ARIA is something to consider too. And this is just a set of HTML standards for accessibility that allow us to take HTML elements that may not have meaning and give them meaning with HTML attributes like role. We can take this sort of meaningless span element and make it into a checkbox. You can also use ARIA to sort of define the state of things. Is this checkbox checked? Is it not checked? And tab index for our keyboard users. Are we building something that we want to be focusable? If so, we want to use the tab index attribute to give our HTML meaning to everyone, to all of our users. Oh, and then CSS, this one's one of my favorites. But CSS can largely be about color. So one of the big things here is think about color contrast for all our different low vision users, or then there are plenty of tools out there to help with color contrast. Google Color Contrast Checker. There's also browser extensions to do this, and we can just plug in a foreground color and a background color and tell us if it's accessible or not, if we should maybe adjust some of those colors so they are. I think Chrome DevTools has the color contrast checkers built into them now too. So there's a lot of options here, and it's really easy to check. So when you're building things and adding new colors, this is always something you want to consider. And then fonts. I struggled a lot when I first started working in Koha into where I should put fonts. I've settled on the best place to put them is in OPAC user CSS, like you see here, with a @import. And I love Google fonts. There's a ton of them. And this is just an example of how I will usually do things on almost every OPAC I design. I will import the font, and define the main font I want to use in the body tag. And then after that, if I want to use a different font on different elements, I will define those next in the CSS. Again, all this is in OPAC user CSS. Oh, some more just cool things and sort of quality of life things in CSS that I like to use. These are custom properties or like CSS variables, which are super handy in that we can just define things. And my examples here are color, but you can do this with fonts and margins and all kinds of things. But I will define my custom colors right here at the top. And then I will, instead of when I call that color, I will do it like this. That way, if I ever have to go and change a color, I don't have to go through my CSS file and look for 88 different lines that have the color on it. I just change it in one place, and like voila, all the colors are changed. Screen sizes, we talked about that a little bit, and there are a bunch of common breakpoints for mobile devices, tablets, different screens, big ones, and should just be aware of those. And when needed, we can use these, like the example here, CSS media queries, which will apply CSS only at certain widths. In this case, 769 pixels or less. So as you're adjusting your screen, when things don't look right, you can add these media queries and make everything look right at all the different screen sizes. Oh, and Bootstrap 4. This is in Koha natively. So the CSS is already in there. The JavaScript's already in there. So you don't really have to know a lot about those things. And you can still add these really cool components to your Koha OPAC. And got a link up there to the Bootstrap 4 components. There's all kinds of things here that we can use and just simply cut and paste, really, maybe take out the placeholder text, replace it with the content that we want, and throw it on our OPAC. This is an example of tabs. So these tab panels that are either hidden or shown. So in this case, we can show one cover flow at a time, but have 3 on the page that users can pick from. I use these, but I just straight copied all of this from the Bootstrap website. And there's a ton of stuff out there. There's carousels and nav bars and all kinds of cool stuff. And here's one more example. This is a progress bar. I use this one because we can see that it is using some of the ARIA stuff, roles, and ARIA values. So when you copy and paste this stuff and replace placeholder content with your own content, it's great because you can be assured that you're meeting a certain accessibility threshold because it's all already built in there for you. Bootstrap's done all the work. And Jessie, you going to talk a little bit about branding?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Lucas. So Lucas showed us some really great examples of how we can customize our OPACs and tie that in. And now we're going to talk a little bit about how you can personalize your library brand. So the first thing we're thinking about is, why are we personalizing our brand and why is it important? It builds credibility. So when your patrons and your users and your students come to your website or your OPAC, they recognize things, your library stands out to them, and it encourages loyalty. So, whether they're out, maybe your library is close to another neighboring library, they recognize that, that logo or that image. The other thing we want to think about is like how we can keep the personalization for your library. One of the biggest things we always try to do is keep your voice and your message consistent, across the platform. So whether it's your website or your OPAC, you want to keep that consistency. Also bring out your personality. Think about all the amazing things that your library offers and the staff that you have that are out there supporting it, like bring that personality to life. And then of course, transparency, right? We want to keep everything easy for our users to find. Lucas showed a couple examples on the OPAC where we have those links that take us out to other information, or maybe a quick snippet that tells them how to log into the OPAC. We want to keep that concise so it makes it easy for them and not overwhelm them with a lot of words. And then of course, pushing it out on social media, whether you're sharing a link to your OPAC or your website, get that message out there because that'll reach a lot of people. This is a Koha user, Huntsville, Madison County in Alabama, and we love what they have done. So that's their logo over there in the upper left-hand corner. And then you can see they did this little campaign to raise some money and they sold some books, book bags, some mugs, and some t-shirts. And they tied that logo in. You'll see it on their website, on their OPAC. And it's just a really nice way to tie all of those things together. We're always looking for great examples that we can share. So now what we'll do is we're going to show some examples to you of some websites and some OPACs that have really beautiful seamless integration. We'll show you how to market some third-party products. So all those great subscriptions or databases that you're subscribing to, and then how to easily highlight those resources for your users. So this first one is Bossier Parish Libraries in Louisiana. This is their library website. So you can see that they have embed the catalog search bar so people can easily search for a title right from that main page. They can go over to their account, log in, and it's giving them really easy access. And then of course, they're highlighting other information from that main screen. They have their upcoming events. On this next one, now we're going to take a look at their OPAC. So you can see that consistency that they kept with that search bar to make it really easy for them to find it. And again, this is another cover flow that Barbara's going to go into more detail in her presentation about. But you can list as many of those interactions that you want them to have, whether you're highlighting, new adult nonfiction or, DVDs, whatever it is. This is a great way to bring that information in. Our next example here is Spalding University Library. Now this is their library website page. So this is linking out where they can search everything or ebooks or journals or databases. Now, if we transition over to their OPAC, again, you're going to see that seamless integration. So the student in essence isn't really noticing if they're going from one place to the next. They can still perform that search. They have some beautiful customizations down below that take them and show like hours for different locations within the Learning Resource Center. You'll see at the top, links that take them out to the course reserves or their authority search. And they're just keeping that consistent look between the website and the OPAC. Our next example here is Clover Park Technical College in Washington State. This is their Learning Resource Center. So this is their website for the library, which links them out again where they can perform the search or link out to other options that are available for students like Canvas, contacting the librarian. And then this is their OPAC. So another really nice way that you can connect with your users and keep that consistency is if you have a chat widget, if you're using library chat or Help3 or OLARC or any of those chat services out there, this is a great way that you can either have it pop up from the bottom, slide out or pop out from the right or left. Some people just have like a little icon at the bottom. And this is a nice way that you can keep that connection to your students or your users within the system. And again, you'll see here they have quick information that takes them out to how they can log in, and of course, the hours for the library. Our next example here is Galveston College in Texas, and this is their library website. So again, they're keeping that search bar there for the user to perform that search. And then they also have links that take them out to their chat, and then those quick links over there on the right-hand side. If we transition over to their OPAC, you'll see that same thing. Now, right as we were taking that screenshot, their chat widget popped up for us to chat. So you can see that chat option over there on the right-hand side. Again, hours and some quick links over here on the left, and then one iteration of that cover flow in the center of the screen. And this is probably something that we're always searching for to get good examples. I love the recently returned one. I think that is such a great idea for people to just go in and browse through those titles. Our last example here is, this is our kind of our model site that Lucas puts all of the amazing work that he's done on, so we could highlight some of the cool things. So this iteration of cover flow is pulling in where they can see those titles that are available. We have the hours and the contact information. And then of course, over on the right underneath the login, options that take people out to like Koha community, the wiki, ByWater Solutions tutorial videos, you know, just to like highlight all of that information in there. Lucas mentioned EDS as one of the plugins earlier, and Kelly's going to do a presentation on plugins tomorrow and talk a lot about them. But this is a great way if you do have the discovery service with EBSCO that you can integrate that information right into the search. You'll notice that the options up top we have is either search the catalog or search the databases, and you can have those in a drop-down form or switching back and forth between the two. And one of the really great things about the plugin is it allows you to customize those facets. So you'll notice it looks a little bit different than what we're traditionally used to seeing in the OPAC for facets. It allows them to narrow down by full text, or expand, or a source type, or a publisher, or even a content provider. E-content integration. How many of us have Overdrive or Hoopla or Cloud Library? Right. And are you turning that integration on so it pulls those results into the OPAC? Yes. All right. So these are great ways that you can turn that on. You can also customize that message. So instead of it just being like a link that they might miss, you can make it stand out with either a box or some highlighted text. So it makes it easier for them to click on that information and then see that information in there. The really nice thing you also want to turn on is make sure that you have that Overdrive circulation turned on if you do use Overdrive, and that allows them to authenticate once they're logged in, and then they can check items right out from that Overdrive screen so they can see that information. They don't have to leave to go out to the Overdrive website, or if they're on their phone on, you know, if they're on Libby, they can do it all within the Koha OPAC. Of course, when they do go to Libby to read it, they can still see that information in there. In this example, we have Hoopla circulation on. So if you have Hoopla, this is a great way to bring in your information into the system. This will give you a pop-up so the user can, again, check items out, and they can see that information in their account summary. So once we log into the OPAC, you'll be able to see that information for Overdrive. Cloud Library is another option. If you have that e-content provider, you can bring it in, and then of course Hoopla. The user can see that item here, they can check it out, they can also check things back in. So we just want to thank you all for listening and sharing some of these ideas. All of our notes and presentation links and all the code that Lucas has written, you can either scan that QR code or just go to the bit.ly, and that has all of our information, like some tutorials on how to set them up. If you want to set up a digital library card like Prosper, or some of that stuff, all of it's in there.
All right, before they sit down, does anybody have any questions about anything that they presented? I'm gonna have you come up here so you can use the mic. You're gonna drill your own colleagues here. Okay.
Great, Charlie.
I missed when that pages enhancement was coming.
2211.
2211. Okay, thank you.
I had a couple of quick questions. First of all, when you're using the barcodes on the digital barcodes, do you normally have to have special barcode scanners to read those correctly?
So that's actually using a JavaScript library called JS barcode. And there's a bunch of barcodes that you can use there. So if your scanners are code 39 or any of the other types, you can use all of those different barcode types. So usually there's going to be something that you can find in there that's going to work with your particular scanner.
Okay, so most of them should read from the screen without any trouble.
What's that?
Most of them should read from the screen itself without any trouble.
In most cases, yes. I've ran into some cases where there is trouble. It's usually the barcode reader.
Okay.
But yes.
My other quick question was, is there a web address where we can go to see the ByWater test site that you've set up with some of those different things?
Yeah, that's it's on. Yeah. It's,
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, the barcode scanners, usually if it's reading the barcode as an image, they'll read them off of the phones and screens better. If it's one of the older ones, it's just a line. It tends to not read those off the screen as well.
That's my experience too, Michael, is that you're going to need 2D barcode scanners to scan off of a screen that a 1D line scanner won't do. So it's going to depend on what kind of barcode scanners you have at each library. And I know in your situation with what, like 50 libraries, 51 libraries, I don't know if you guys are making sure that they all have the exact same scanners. My guess is you're not, because I'm in the same situation. So there were some comments online. The most comments were about the pages. Everybody is excited for pages. And then there were comments too about the MARC enhancements. Heather Hernandez was very excited about the MARC, being able to put any MARC field on the screen in the display in the OPAC. So
yeah, that's really awesome.
Online, there were just comments, no questions. So thanks.
All right, anybody else? All right, thank you very much.